Jai Sriman Narayan.
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 I pay my obeisances to my spiritual master, Srimad Jagat Guru Sudarshan Acharya Ji Maharaj. I pay my obeisances to Lord Sri Ramanuj. I pay my obeisances to Mother Lakshmi. And I pay my obeisances to Lord Sriman Narayan. I welcome all of you here physically at the Sri Narayan Dham in Durban, South Africa. I welcome those of you that's watching this discourse on live feed, locally, nationally, and internationally. And I welcome in advance those that will be watching this discourse when it is posted in the various groups from around the world. Vishishtadvaita is the true, genuine, and authentic purport of all the Vedic knowledge that's in the four Vedas, the Puranas, the Itihasas, which is the Ramayan and the Mahabharata, and the Vedanta Sutra. I'm going to qualify by making this declaration as follows, with a simple example to be taken only for the sake of the example and not literally. So the subject I am expounding is called spiritual science. Similarly, there is another subject which is used in the material world called mathematics. How many of you know and experienced mathematics? Every one of you. Even if you didn't go to school, you still experience mathematics. Every transaction in your life is mathematics. You had 2 apples, you had 1 apple, how many apples left? 1. So you experienced subtraction in mathematics. You had no apple, you stole your brother's apple. Now you got 1 apple. You experienced addition in mathematics. You had 1 apple, you cut it in half, and you gave your sister half the apple. You divided that. And you had 1 apple, you took 1 apple seed from that apple, you planted it in your garden, and you grew an apple tree. And you multiplied the apple. So in everyone's life, you experience mathematics without being aware of the subject mathematics whilst you experience it. Is it not? Okay. From this example, mathematics contains 4 modes of operation, basically. Isn't it? Addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. If you take all of these 4 modes of its operation, you can call it collectively mathematics, or singularly that mode that you are performing, which can either be addition, subtraction, multiplication or division. So there are some philosophers that have stated that, and I'm using the example of maths, I'll go into spirituality after that so you can understand. Some philosophers, a group of philosophers headed by Adi Shankar Acharya, have stated that there is no difference between the 4 operation of mathematics and God. Or mathematics, sorry, let's just stick to mathematics. So he has stated in a philosophy called Advaita. Advaita means oneness. And he has stated that all these 4 operations merges as one into mathematics. Then there's Madhva Acharya, who claims that mathematics and the operations of mathematics are distinct. And it's called, his philosophy is called dualism. So you have Adi Shankaracharya, his philosophy is called oneness. Advaita means oneness. That means the souls and God is one. This is Adi Shankar Acharya. Madhva Acharya states that the souls and God is different. And it's called dualism. Sri Ramanuj Acharya, whom you see on my left hand side, he took 60 years of his life Sri Ramanuj Acharya was born 1000 years ago in Sirupundur in South India, Tamil Nadu. He took 60 years of his life to show that both these philosophies are wrong. And how long it took to show that?
60 years.
60 full years of his life of 120 years. And that what he showed, that system through which he showed that both these philosophies are wrong is called Vishishtadvaita. So today I made a bold statement and I stated that Vishishtadvaita is the true and only genuine purport of all Vedic knowledge. And I'm explaining it to you as an example set in mathematics. Alright? So let's see. Lord Sri Ramanuj stated, and let's use mathematics again. He stated that the 4 operations belongs to, there is oneness because the 4 operations and mathematics belong to each other, doesn't it? The 4 operations, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, they belong to mathematics. So they are, in a sense, one with mathematics. Then he also showed that they are different from mathematics, as addition, subtraction, multiplication, division are different concepts of the same whole. You understand? So on one hand you can say yes, all of these are mathematics, and then you can say that they are different operations within mathematics. Are you understanding so far? So there is oneness and there is duality. There is oneness, there is duality. Okay? So the Vedas state that to know God, if you want to know God, you can only find God in the Upanishads. And as I've explained previously, on many occasions, the Vedas are in 4 parts. The Vedas are in 4 parts: the Samhitas, the Brahmanas, the Aryanakas, and the Upanishads. So there's 4 Vedas, and each Veda is divided into 4 parts. And if you want to know who God is, then you go to your Veda, the 4th part of your Vedas, and in the 4th part of the Vedas, which is called Upanishads, of which there are 108 collectively from the 4 Vedas, that Upanishads will tell you who God is. Alright? So in this 108 Upanishads, some Upanishads discuss oneness of God. In these 108 Upanishads, there are Upanishads that specifically discussing the oneness of God, which means the relationship between the soul and the quality of the soul and God as one. Some Upanishads are discussing the duality of the soul and God, the distinct qualities of God and the soul. And some Upanishads are discussing the unity of the soul and God with material nature. Right? Now, if there is a Vedic injunction that to know God, because the Vedas is a law, to know God, you will find it in the Upanishads, then you cannot eliminate any one of the 3 propositions as proclaimed in the Upanishads. You cannot eliminate oneness and say that is true, because what happens to the other 2 propositions of the Upanishads? It falls away. If you say the second is true, then the first falls away. Then it means that the Upanishads in themselves is not absolute. And if the Upanishads are not absolute, then where are you going to get absolute knowledge? So let's go back to maths. Alright? Let's go back to maths. 5 plus 5 minus 2 divided by 2 times 2, 8. Now all this mathematics, all is mathematics. So we used addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. We used all of these concepts, and in the end what we got? We got the same answer, which is max. Which means, in order to understand oneness and dualism, in order to understand oneness and dualism in its proper context, in its proper context, we must use the unitary parts of the Upanishads. And when you use the unitary parts of the, and you unite the two concepts, what happens? You get one complex whole, don't you? Like what I did with addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. I unified them in one. And the result was one complex whole. Similarly, Vishishtadvaita unifies oneness and dualism, brings it together, and shows that both the individual soul and the material universe is embodied by that one Supreme Personality of Godhead. So God and the soul is distinct. They are in one as far as they are both spiritual, all right? God and material nature is distinct. They are one in both are eternal. Material nature is eternal. It exists all the time. God is eternal. The soul is eternal. It exists all the time. God is eternal. It exists all the time. And both are distinct. There was never a time when the soul was born. The soul existed eternally, and there was never a time material nature was created. It exists eternally, and there was never a time God is created. God exists eternally. And the attributes or the modes of God is the souls and material nature. The souls and material nature. These are the attributes of God. Eternal attributes of God. So when there is absolutely no creation, there comes a time after 311 trillion, 40 billion years, when all these universes are dissolved. When they are dissolved, they merge back into God in the subtle state. So all the souls is called Purusha, P-U-R-U-S-H-A, a combination of all these souls. When they merge into God in the subtle form is called Purusha. And material nature, when it goes back into its neutralized state of the three gunas, Satagun, Rajagun, and Tamogun, is called Praktri. Praktri. Understand? So in the subtle stage, when there is no creation, if they are assimilated into God, in which part of God do they get assimilated into? The body of God, isn't? The body of God. They are embodied by God. Then, when there is creation, Lord Vishnu is Lord Narayan in his pervasive form. Vishnu is Lord Narayan in his pervasive form. He enters, he creates the material universes, then he uses Praktri, which is material nature, as his womb. What is a womb? W-O-M-B. where children are or animals are born. So material nature becomes the womb of God, and in that womb he injects all the prakriti, all the purushas, the souls that were lying within him in subtle form. And when these souls interact with prakriti, what happens? These material universes are animated. The animation of these material universes is by virtue of the individual soul. And this takes place every 311 trillion, 40 billion years. So 311 trillion, 40 billion years seen and experienced by God, Lord Sriman Narayan in Vaikunth is 1 second. Is 1 second. So when Lord Narayan is experiencing this material universes, whose cycle is 311 trillion, 40 billion years, only 1 second elapses relative to Lord Sriman. How many lifetimes we go to in 311 trillion, 40 billion years? Some germs only live for 12 hours. And every one of us here were a germ once. And we had a lifespan of 12 hours. Isn't? And the longest living being is human. So we lived countless lifetimes. And in every lifetime we were miserable. Even when you was a germ, we were miserable because this universe is created to be miserable. The constitution of this universe is misery. Misery means a fluctuation of feelings. Alright? And misery is only your perception of it, each individual's perception of it. Alright? Let's test this. When it is hot, some people are miserable, others are happy. When it is cold, some people are miserable, others are happy. These two conditions exist. It is each individual's perception as per his or her allotted karma in the previous life to experience through perception that amount of misery or happiness. And it is perplexing, isn't? Is it not perplexing? When you are doing all the right things in your life, you go to satsang, you love your guru, and your neighbor is doing all the wrong things in life, every year your neighbor is getting a new BMW, and you still keep starting your house. Isn't it frustrating to see Mr. Abdul and then we blame in Abdul Bhai. We say he close his business on a Friday and go to mosque. Immediately he come after mosque, he rob the people. Don't we say that, most of us? We always envious of Mr. Abdul. In Mr. Abdul's previous life, he got merits to enjoy as Abdul in this life. In your previous life, you got the merits to suffer in this life. Perfect science. It is a perfect science because if there was no suffering and happiness, then God would have no reason to create this universe, because the fuel for these material universes is suffering and happiness. Now everyone is not happy all the time and everyone does not suffer all the time. It's because when your good karma suffers, you'll be happy, and your bad karma suffers, you'll be sad. Alright? So initially we all thought that we good people, we do 50 good and 25 wrong. Back to mathematics. 50 minus 25, 25 good will come to you. No, bull, it doesn't work that way. Alright? Karma fructifies as you planted it. As you sow, you should thou shall you receive. So, for 3 months of the year, you are very happy. Wife is cooking fish curry every day, whatever. Coming from work, clothes is ironed. From early morning, the mouth is not yapping. Husband is going happy to work, coming happy to work. In the next 3 months, before the eyes is opening, the mouth is opening. From morning, and at night when the eyes closed and snoring, the mouth is still yapping. And I gave the example that if you had to press brakes on the wife's mouth, if you press it in Marisburg, it will only hold in Devon. The Vedas say that the Guru is never wrong. And then when the wife's mouth opened, there's sadness. Same wife. Some people went and got other wives. We know, alright? But that break-in system is the same in all wives. And later they realize, hey, I should have stuck around with it first. Okay? The break-in system is the same in all. God created misery through the wife and also happiness. It's how you perceive it. It's how you perceive it. And this is the fuel of the substance of this universe. Okay? So let's go back to Vishishtadvaita, and I want you to understand clearly, it's not because my spiritual birth is in Vishishtadvaita that I am now claiming to the world that because I am born in this philosophy, then my philosophy is correct. This is not my intention. 1,000 years ago, it was also not the intention of Lord Sri Ramanuj, because various conflicting philosophy creates confusion in the human mind. Does it not? Does it not? So my job and my birth, like Sri Ramanuj 1,000 years ago, 1,000 years later, my birth is to erase this confusion by giving you absolute teachings. So if you read the life history of Lord Sri Ramanuj 1,000 years ago, for him to write this book. This is the Sri Bhashya of Lord Sri Ramanuj. It is the greatest discussion on the Vedas. It is unshakable. No saint or sage can shake one sentence from this great book, because every sentence in this book is a Vedic injunction. You understand? It took him 60 years for him to do a commentary on the Vedanta Sutras. He had to walk from South India to North India because the only copy was in a library in North India. How long you think the journey took? 1,000 years ago, who you think were roaming in between South and North India? How many tigers you think were? You understand? So he didn't sit in South India and make his own views. He went and got an original copy of the Vedanta Sutra that was most probably written in leaf, isn't? 1,000 years ago, you think there were mills and printing presses and papers. So this would have been written on papyrus and preserved. Okay? He took his original Vedic injunctions from that document, which was written 5,000 years ago by a disciple of Veda Vyas called Bodhihana. Called Bodhihana. There is knowledge. Who are we here in South Africa? Are we regarded as the East or the West? We are the West, right? We are the Western world. All our practices are Western, only our language might be Eastern, and all our rituals, although it might be from the East, we mix it with the West. We talk in a Western language. We dream in a Western dreams. How many of you have Eastern dreams? No one. We dream in the West. We eat Western food. How many of you don't eat pizza and burgers? So we eat Western food, all right? We drink Western drinks. Whiskey was not originated in India. Brandy came. I think only the Dhaka smokers. Okay? So we will be regarded as the West. So many gurus came from the East and hoodwinked the West. Because who could go into the papyrus leaves and see, as long as you dressed in orange, you can play the harmonium, you put a set of beads around you, you can play the harmonium, and you can sing. You're a learned guru. When you go into the West, what the West will think of you? Beard, some are clean shaven, you wear orange, you can play the harmonium, sing a few songs in Hindi or Tamil or Telugu or Urdu, you're a guru. Then any hogwash, you tell the West, this is a Vedic injunction, it's from the Vedas, what the West will do? They'll believe you. Because the West is buying anything from the East when it comes to spirituality. And that's how the Advaita philosophy was sold in the West. And that's how the Dvaita philosophy was sold in the West. It was sold. Now I am going to dismantle these philosophies as false. I'm going to dismantle these philosophies as false as per Vedic injunctions and the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, wherein these philosophies are found. Because knowledge can't be found in anyone wearing orange and playing the harmonium. Okay? Knowledge must come from a bona fide system. So, are you understanding today's discussion, those of you that are present here? Have you any doubts as to what I am saying? Have you any doubts as to what I am saying? Have you any questions? Even those of you that sitting here for the first time. There is no first time, all right? You can ask any question if you feel you need to ask a question. Paddy, have you got any questions this far? Anyone, any question? And the reason I went to the papyrus and the Vedas is 10, 15, 20 years ago, if we thought Vedas, what you all thought? Be honest, what you thought. Old man in a mountain. You must go all the way to India, climb the Himalaya mountain, find one old man who looks like me, and ask him some information on the Vedas. Am I right or wrong? When we thought Vedas, when we thought knowledge about God, we always thought this knowledge is hidden high up in the Himalaya somewhere. And only these people who know Sanskrit, they'll be able to tell you who God is. So technology has changed all of that. From papyrus to touch screen. From papyrus to touch screen. I got no free Wi-Fi here. Those of you that got your own data, okay? You don't have to walk like Lord Sri Ramanuj from South India to North India to find the Vedanta Sutra. Just go on your touch screen, go in Google, write there Vedanta Sutra, Lord Sri Ramanuj, and this whole book will appear on your phone. And you can verify whether this guru is hoodwinking the West. And you can verify it within this discourse. When you can verify it? Within this discourse. You don't have to imagine of a man high up on the Himalayas, and when sometime in your life, when God graces you, you'll go to the Himalayas and find out whether Acharya Shyam Ramanuj is telling you the truth. Right now, or go home tonight, or go to work. Work has free Wi-Fi. Why you want to use your data for this, Acharya? Use your boss's Wi-Fi. Type in there Vedanta Sutra, Lord Sri Ramanuj, and see whether what Acharya told you today, whether he's hoodwinking you or whether it's absolute Vedic knowledge. Do you understand? Gone are the days where gurus could go around the world and misinform people. Because you'll notice those same gurus who got a following in the West is practically unknown in India, both South and. Why are the same gurus, when India is the source of all spirituality, both South and North, unknown in their own country, they're known in the West? Because the West don't know. You sing harmonium and you say this is a Vedic injunction, the West is gullible. Right here in South Africa too, we're all gullible. We get gurus from around coming, they sing a few songs in a hall, you pay your 200 rand and they gone with your money and you are 200 rand less in your bank, purse, whatever. Right? You paid for the flight, you paid for the hotel room. At the airport, they're wearing Pierre Cardin shoes, Pierre Cardin belt. And in the hall, they were wearing beautiful orange dhoti. You all bow down to him. He took your money, he went India in the village, and he's a nobody. So be careful. All the information that I am discussing is available to you at your fingertips. You don't even have to type now. It is so easy. You just touch. You just touch. See how close God is to you now. How close is God to you and the knowledge of God to you? Just a touch away. Just a touch away. No one can ever be fooled, if you're a Hindu, about what is the right and the wrong. Proceed. Alright? You don't have to pay hefty monies to the Brahmins, 2,000, 2,500, to make smoke in your house anymore. Touch. Vedas will tell you what type of smoke is needed. Just burn your loban one side. You smoke your house. Same thing, you pay how many thousand? 2,000. How much is a loban? You understand? God is one touch away. God is just a touch away. So quickly, we have to end all these discourses with the Bhagavad Gita reading. When I finish, I complete the Bhagavad Gita in about 3 or 4 years' time. Then these forewords, these discussions I give you prior to reading the particular verse in the Bhagavad Gita, they will all cross-reference each other in perfect synthesis. Alright? So on certain days, when I give the introduction, then it may not correspond or synchronize with the verse that I'm reading. But when I finish the cover of the Bhagavad Gita in 2, 3 years' time, Daddy, I don't know, then when you cross-reference that discussions I had prior, you'll see it will fit in perfectly. Okay? So who knows where we stopped last week?
Chapter 2.
I want to ask the angry girl. Chapter 2.
Yeah.
Okay, let's conclude again. I'm going to go back to verse 7. With my heart stricken by the fault of weak compassion, with my mind perplexed about my duty, I request you to say for certain what is good for me. I am your disciple. Teach me, who have taken refuge in you. So once again, Arjuna and Lord Shri Krishna are best friends. As long as they were friends, Arjuna did not know self-realization. He did not know self-realization. Now, at verse 7, he says, teach me what is good for me, I am your disciple. From which word does disciple come?
Discipline.
Discipline. When someone becomes your disciple, he or she must come within the parameters of your discipline. What does discipline mean? a set of regulatory
Principles.
principles. All right, discipline means a set of regulatory principles. So when you surrender to God and say, I am your disciple, then you think because you said, Lord Narayan, I am your disciple, it is the beginning and end. Now you must start living as the disciple. And when you start living as the disciple, you have to live within the parameters of the discipline or regulative principles to whom you have surrendered. Let's test this. You go to university, you do 4 subjects. You like 3 subjects. 1 subject you don't like. The subject you do not like, you won't surrender to. The subjects you like, you will surrender to. Isn't? You like your professor, you'll go home, you'll do all your research on the subject that you like. But you have to do 4 subjects. You like 3, you surrender to 3, 1 you'll. Like I hated Afrikaans. Not Afrikaners. Afrikaans. Alright? So I did not surrender to Afrikaans because there was a late in the forum in Afrikaans which said that you threw the dog with the stone. Yeah? If you translated it word for word in English. And I found that very stupid because I was an English student. So I didn't surrender to Afrikaans. I got an F in metric. But I still got my exemption. I did S7, alright? But because I did not surrender to Afrikaans, I had no passion for it. I was not within the disciplines of Afrikaans. Because Afrikaans got grammar and it got begripsstuks, reading study, you know. So you find one common word in Afrikaans, in reading study, then you take that word and make it your answer. Isn't? There was no interaction between me and Afrikaans. So this is what we do when we surrender to God without liking God. We take a few common things that God said and we put it in our answer. Then when we don't get, we cry. Because that word that we put, although it was asked in the question, might be in total contradiction to the answer. So you have to surrender and live within the surrender. And I'm going to state very sadly today, it saddens me to say what I'm stating. I'm not going to use names. But 2 devotees came to my satsang, both from the academic world. Both came the same time, and both had similar problems. And I asked both that if you are loyal, you'll get fixed. One was absolutely loyal. Her recovery is almost 80 to 90%. Both had this prevailing problem for over 15, 16 years. Alright? Both went around the world to get help. Both failed around the world and landed. One, in fact, one was writing for a spiritual degree in another institution, and I made her stop her degree because you can't have 2 lovers. You must love only one. You understand? And she forsook her degree. She stopped her degree And she was absolutely faithful. In fact, she is brimming with energy. Every time I see her, she is brimming with energy. And those of you all that were here, normally the flower is thrown, then the guru put the feet on the flower, then the next flower is thrown. You also at what speed she comes in. Before I put my first feet there, the last flower is already thrown on the way. That's the amount of energy she has. Surrender if you want your problems fixed. Then you must surrender fully. Because your problem will be fixed in proportion to your surrender. I am not teaching you, I'm teaching you the absolute. I'm not teaching you from the sideline so I can fix you up from the sideline. If I'm teaching you from the absolute, then you have to receive me absolutely, don't you think?
Yes.
All of you? If I'm teaching you from the absolute, my power is not from me, it's from God. I am just a conduit of God. I am merely a conduit of God. God is absolute. This pipe have to be absolute, so the cords can run through it, so that you can get lit on the other end. All right? So from this example, I'm giving you live, January this year, on the 1st, I did a mantra chanting equally for both of them. One sat on my right, one sat on my left. That one who was fully loyal is 80% sorted. I got a message last night from the one that was not loyal, that she's about to leave this earth. You explain to me, what must I do? I give, my discourses are clear. My concepts and explanations of the discourses are clear and simple. And I am available to anyone over the phone. You can phone me, you don't have to go through my receptionist. You have a direct contact with me. All right? Only when I'm busy around the ashram, when my phone, I don't have a pocket, is in the room, that I'll miss your call. If somebody can show me a beautiful something wherein I can carry my phone, like a pouch, then my phone will be with me. All right? So I go out of my way. This organization does not charge 1 cent, because the power does not belong to this organization. It belongs to God. And God's power is for free. You don't get a bill every month for the sunlight that reaches you and nourishes you. No. Similarly, this organization is free. If you have absolute faith in this organization and God's truths, the Guru is not making anything up, because the Guru don't have a license to make anything up. God has already spoken. Why should the Guru change anything? Like your car, it has a size 17 rim. Avi, you don't have to put 22s, because the manufacturer put 17. You don't have to put 22s. Just drive the car with 17s, Avi. Alright? Alright. As you grow up. Manufacturer did all the job. You don't have to change anything. Similarly, God has already spoken. Please, those of you that are receiving any benefication from this institution, don't message me and say that it's not working and you want to leave the earth. Alright? And I'm saying this with love. If you're not ready for me, still go around. If you are not ready for me, still go around. When you're ready for me, come to me. But when you with me, when I stated earlier on that Lord Vishnu divides himself and enters every atom and every soul. Every atom and every soul. So if Lord Vishnu is in your soul, and I am giving you Vishnu power to fix yourself up, if you go outside to take some power from somewhere else, will Lord Vishnu not know? It's like me connecting you to the municipality, and what you doing? What you doing? Stealing light from the substations and connecting your light. What will happen to you? You'll get shocked. Take the light from Lord Vishnu. He is in your own soul. He resides in your soul. He is a resident of your soul. Your soul embodies Lord Vishnu. And if I am connecting you to Lord Vishnu, I'm saying free lights. Why don't you allow yourself to get lit up? Right? Are you understanding how perfect this beautiful Sanatan Dharma is and how perfect Vedic science is? Alright? It is so perfect that now material science is acknowledged. And I'm going to end off by saying that from where I'm teaching you, alright, the Bhagavad Gita is embedded in the Mahabharata. Mahabharata took place 5,000 years ago in Kurukshetra and in India. When Lord Sri Krishna left India, what did he do? He sank the city that he lived in. And what a great mythology, isn't it? Myth is? What's the meaning of myth? Sita? Not true. Myth means not true. So how could God have come 5,000 years ago, lived in India, spoke the Bhagavad Gita, and before he left, he sinks the city he lived in, Dwarika? What a huge contradiction, Paddy. Bull. That city which he sank is now found. 15 years ago, the Navy of India found the city Dwarika, and the relics and artifacts in that city that is sunk off the Indian Ocean, as correctly described by Veda Vyas in the Mahabharata, is lying under the sea where Lord Sri Krishna really sank it. And the artifacts are over 5,000, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000, 10,000 years. They're still carbon dating. So it means the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita is absolute. Then we go to Sri Lanka. In Sri Lanka, in the Ramayan, how many of you all heard Superman Hanuman Baba? He's the first Superman, is he not? All Superman stories must come from him. He is the original Superman. He flew with the rocks and laid the bridge on in between India and Sri Lanka. Again, what a great mythology. Who can fly, cut up pieces of mountain, take it and make it float on a sea so people can walk through? What a fairy tale. Bull. scientists found exactly as depicted in the Ramayana, the bridge that was made by Lord Ram. When they went and did tests on the rock samples, they found the rock samples to come from a foreign location, and it is not original from the sea. You understand? So now science have confirmed the Ramayana as true. 100% true. Science has confirmed, although we don't care, whether they confirm or not. But they have confirmed that the Ramayana is 100% true, the Mahabharata is 100% true, and in the Upanishads it is stated that the sun emits the frequency Om, Om, Om. And NASA found a frequency emitted by the sun which is not audible, which is too low for the human ear, and it's also too high for the human ear. So they took this frequency, they went to the lab, and they made it audible to the human ear. And what is the frequency audible to the human ear stating? Om, Om. So the sun is stating the mantra Om 24 hours a day, as stated in the Upanishads that was spoken thousands and thousands of years ago. So the Upanishad is an absolute science, and this guru sitting here today is the absolute scientist, because he's teaching you the absolute science. Are you understanding? And this has been verified already. So the entire Vedas has been verified by material science as true. It is up to you. Remember, in between you and God is a hurdle called customs and traditions. The only thing that's holding you back from God will be your custom and your tradition. And when you grow bold enough to make enquiries on your custom and traditions, you think if your custom and traditions is absolute and true, it will be found on the internet? Yes. Go and see your customs, your traditions that you follow in from the internet, whether it is a Vedic injunction. So all the time, the obstacle between you and God is who? You. Who? You. Because where I said God is residing? Inside. Your soul is the body of Vishnu. Your soul embodies Lord Vishnu. Right? Maybe I gave you too much to eat on a platter today. But you can digest it, because this video is recorded. You can go on my face page and listen to it in one bite at a time. Okay? Whatever I've stated today is not an opinion of mine. Neither is it an opinion of my Guru, Swami Sudarshan Acharya Ji Maharaj. Neither is it an opinion of Lord Sriman Narayan. It is the actual breath of Lord Narayan. So every saint has a past, and every sinner has a future. Jai Shri Ramanuj.
Jai Shri Ramanuj.